بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. Tonight and tomorrow night, I'd like to mention some of the laws that relate to Zakatul Fitr. What is Fitra? First of all, we'll say, what is Zakatul Fitr? When does it become wajib? How much is it? To whom do we have to pay? To whom is it obligatory for, and to whom do we have to pay? So these 4 or 5 issues, we'll mention some of them tonight, and tomorrow night we'll mention the other. First of all, Zakatul Fitr is a religious tax. It's paid. From the narrations, it says that those that want their fasts, from a narration that's narrated from Imam Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, those that want their fasts to be accepted, they have to pay Zakatul Fitr. There's a connection with our fast being accepted in this zakat. It is a wajib zakat. It's obligatory. It's not mustahab. It's not recommended. It's not only for those that fast. It's for everybody, right? And we're going to exactly say who has to pay, who has to not, but it's for everybody. Sure, for this sister and her pure heart, please recite a salawat for her too, please. So when does it become wajib? Salatul Fitr becomes, not Salatul Fitr, Zakatul Fitr, or the zakat becomes wajib after sunset on the eve of Eid. When it's Eid, after sunset it becomes wajib, and it should be kept aside until you go to prayer. And those that have a chance to go to prayer, they give it before prayer. Those that cannot go to prayer, they give it before noon. So there's a time frame for this duty that we have. It's not whenever we want. So it's the night of Eid, you put it aside and you pay for it during then until before the Salat. We're going to have, inshallah, here, there's going to be boxes that will be for the Sayyids and the non-Sayyids, right? And the reason they separate the boxes, because this is an obligatory zakat. A non-Sayyid is not allowed to give obligatory zakat to a Sayyid. Khums goes to the Sadat, some of the khums. Half of khums go to Sayyids that are in economic dependency or need the money. But zakat, which is wajib, does not go to the Sayyids, those that are not Sayyids. That's why they divide it this way. Please, tomorrow also bring change. Not tomorrow, the day after. Inshallah, they're having it Eid Wednesday. Bring change. So I saw sometimes they open the boxes and take money out. That is not something good to do, because that money has been set aside for the zakat. Bring the appropriate change and put the exact amount. Or if you don't have change, it's okay to put more. Now some say, what happens if I forget? I forget, and sometimes, for example, years before, I forgot to pay. You can pay for it anytime if you forget, with the intention of just qasd qurba, absolute obligation. If it's not qada, or if it's not, you just make your intention for Allah, and I'm fulfilling my duty, even if you forget and you want to pay it later, right? Can I pay my fitrah in advance? Some say. Giving fitrah before the Eid of Fitr is not permissible. You cannot give it before Eid. It has to be given during that time period that I mentioned. However, if you wish, you can send it earlier so that it reaches the needy, you can give them a loan, and then it says, and according to this, you can change your intention from a loan to fitra. If you have to do this, you can give them to them earlier with the intention of a loan, and then you change your intention, and then it becomes fitra. But the best way is, if for those that come to for salat, to give it in these boxes. And one of the ulama that I noticed, he says that you have to pay in your own city. If you can find a way for poor people that you have to give it to, you should give it in your own city. You should not give it to other cities. It should be here. To whom is the fitra obligatory to? Inshallah, these I'll mention tomorrow, or maybe it's maybe better to mention this tonight. Those that are mature, those that are baligh, right? Those that are sane, those that are financially able to, they are people that have to pay this zakat. Now, what about the issue of dependents? If a person has dependents, people that they are supporting, like we have children, for example, and if a person has a wife, dependents, they're dependent on this man for their income. For example, they're 4 people, and if a fitra would be, say, for example, $15, right? It would be $60, right? For the mother of the kids and the 2 kids and the husband would be 4 people. So those that are dependents, they should pay the one that is providing for them financially, they should pay their zakat for them. Now there's this issue about guests coming. Sometimes guests come, and it's in the Risala that a guest comes to your house before the sunset and you invited them. What about them? If they come to your house and they have iftar and they have dinner, what is the issue regarding to them if you have a guest that night? Do you have to pay their fitra? If a person invites another person to his house on the eve of Eid al-Fitr, and if the guest is present at the host's place at the time of sunset, it is obligatory for the host to pay fitra for his guest. If he invited him and they came before sunset. But this alim, because there might be some different issues here, this alim says not only should they have iftar there, they should be your temporary dependent. So if you invite somebody just for one iftar, they're not your temporary dependent. If you have an iftari the night of Eid, they're not your temporary dependent. They should spend at least one night there, so they're considered a temporary dependent. So in most cases, when we invite somebody, according to this, you can go and ask and refer to your own marajah taqlid. But according to this one alim that many people follow, he says his opinion is, if you invite somebody, they come even before sunset, but they're only having iftar and dinner, but they leave and they go to their house, you do not have to pay zakat for them. It's only if they stay and spend the night and they're considered a temporary dependent. Is that issue clear, or is it clear? Okay. I'll be here if you have any questions about fitr, because there's many masail. Tomorrow we'll finish it about who we should give it to, the fitra, and different issues like that, and different issues that I can think of, inshallah. So with that, we can learn our ahkam. And also, brothers and sisters, encourage also the other Muslims. Sometimes people are neglectful of fasting, praying, and when it comes to this, because it's wajib, tell them this is good for you, this is zakat. It's only a little bit of money. Tell other Muslims too, your family members, remind them. They don't have to fast and pray to pay. This is for everybody. So, this zakat and sadaqah, they take away bala and calamity from people. If you care about them, if you can, it doesn't hurt in a way that they don't. Some people, they're in such a way it makes them in a worse situation with Islam. Some people that you think it will have a positive effect, you think there's a chance of them listening to, you have to tell them that this is a duty that we should all pay. And if everybody pays this amount of money, this is a big help for those that are poor. Right? Imagine just from all the centers that are being collected around the Muslim world, how many poor people get a chance, get some money in their pocket, can live a little bit easier life. So this is a culture, this is something that we should spread, and it's for the poor people, right? It's a chance to help the poor. Please give a salawat. It is the last night of the month of Ramadan. It's time to say farewell to this month. in some of our narrations, it says that if we really knew how great the month of Ramadan is, لو يعلم العباد ما في Ramadan, if people knew how great the month of Ramadan was, لتمنت أن يكون رمضان سنة. They wish that the month of Ramadan lasted for an entire year. So sometimes when people tell us, are you happy it's Eid? Are you happy you're going to be done with fasting? You fasted a month, you're tired, you had to go to work. We should tell people have different levels of understanding. Those that have this understanding that the Imams and the Prophets are saying, they understand Ramadan as being a guest of Allah. And when they leave, they won't be in the same way that same guest. So they are sad. It is the month that our prayers were answered. It is the month that we became closer to our dreams. Imam Sajjad and Sahifa Sajjadiyah, look at his dua 45. 44 is about how to enter the month of Ramadan. 45 is exiting the month of Ramadan. He says in this month, basically, that we became closer to our dreams. Whatever dreams you had, because Allah answers your prayers. You became closer to your dreams. It is the month that Allah has covered our faults. How many, he says, وَاسْتَرَكَ لِأَنْوَاعِ الْعُيُوبِ. How many, the kinds of faults have you, the month of Ramadan, covered? How many sins have been erased in this month? So why should we be happy that it's ending? First of all, Allah gave us this tawfiq to fast. If we come with this opportunity that I fasted, I prayed for you, Allah. You come with this attitude, at the end you're going to burn out. If you come with this attitude that Allah, you have allowed me, you have given me this great opportunity to fast and observe this month of Ramadan. And this might be my last month of Ramadan. Inshallah, it's not the last month of Ramadan for anybody. Then when it comes to the end, you won't be tired, you won't be burned out. Right? Because sometimes we're not used to doing so much worship, coming to the masjid so much. And if you keep thinking that I did it, you'll say at the end of the month of Ramadan, it becomes Shawwal, you kind of crash spiritually. Because you say, oh, I've done all these good deeds, I'm forgiven, and you become a little arrogant, right? So to think that everything you have, and I said one of those things that causes somebody to become, his capacity, his dharfiyat increases, is that he thinks everything is from Allah. He attributes everything to Allah. Every movement, every action is from Allah. So this fast that we have, is it our fast, or is it fast that came from Allah for us? These prayers that we read, is it our prayer? Did I pray, or did Allah give me this opportunity to talk to Him? So if we come with this outlook, we will be charged even more for the rest of the year, because we say, Allah has given me this ni'mat of purifying me, of answering my dua. So now the rest of the spiritual year, I'm going to work and try to keep what I gained. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, in Saifa Sajjadiyah, you can read and look at it. Assalamu alayk. See this assalamu alayk, there's different types of assalam in Arabic. Sometimes there's assalam that's for greeting. That's wajib to answer. Sometimes there's assalamu alayk is to leave, to say goodbye. These are salams of farewell. Assalamu alayka. Kam min su'in surifa bika anna. How many evil have you turned away from us, the month of Ramadan? How much evil was going to happen to us, you turned away? Why? Because our sins are forgiven. Maybe if these sins that I didn't do istighfar for, maybe it was going to come back to me. Maybe something bad was going to happen to me. But because I did istighfar, now this evil is gone now. This bala is away from me. وَكَمْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ أُفِيدَ بِكَ عَلَيْنَا. How much good flowed, showered upon us during this month. If you think about it, brothers and sisters, each of you, how much of a great time you had in the month of Ramadan. Now it's time to say farewell. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam is very interesting. He calls the month of Ramadan a qareen, a companion. Assalamu alayka ya qareen. He calls it a companion, a comrade. He calls it in other times, Assalamu alayka ma akthara utaqa Allahi feek. The month that has the most, causes the most freedom from the hellfire than any other month. Shahrul Itq. It is the month of freedom. How many people have been freed in the month of Ramadan from hell? And some of the narrations say when the month of Ramadan enters, Allah will forgive and take people away from hell. The second day comes, He will forgive more. He will take more from hellfire. The third, the fourth, in a way that when it comes towards the end, however much He freed in the beginning of Ramadan, He'll free that amount at the end of the month of Ramadan. So Shahrul Itq. What else do you want? If our next world has not been clear which side we're going to go to, what else do you want to do dua for? Could you have any enjoyment in this world if you knew that na'udhu billah we are going to go and be punished in the hellfire? Would life be enjoyable for us? If a person is on death row, has a sentence of death, how much could he enjoy his life before he goes to and gets executed? If we don't solve these issues of being freed from these sins, from hellfire, life doesn't make any purpose. So the month of Ramadan is freeing us from the hellfire. And Assalamu alaikum wa ala laylatil qadr. Remember the nights of Qadr. Remember the nights of decree, how great it was, the du'as you did, the prayers you did, how Allah allowed you to talk to Him, to Sahar, to Fajr. The nights that were worth allati hiya khayrun min alf shahr, the nights that were worth 1,000 months, that if you truly observed, you went up in ubudiyat, in worship, and being a servant of Allah, you went up 80 years. So we say farewell to this month and the nights of Qadr, and the nights that are for forgiveness, the nights of dua, munajat, the nights of barakat of Allah. Inshallah, we have gained from this month. And if we still haven't, it's not too late. There's this night, there's tomorrow, there's others, the night of Eid, which is a very great night of worship. So it's not too late. And another note is, seeking for forgiveness and tawbah is not exclusive to the month of Ramadan. It's always open. The doors and gates of Allah will always be open. Every night, any time. You don't have to wait for Muharram. You don't have to wait for the month of Ramadan. You don't have to wait for Hajj. You don't have to wait for ziyarat to do tawbah and do istighfar. Any time you want, it's open. The nights of Friday will still be existing. The nights of Friday are great nights. They're the Sayyid al-Layali or Sayyid al-Yawm, or it's Friday. So therefore, don't lose your hope, brothers and sisters. We're sadly leaving the month of Ramadan, but inshallah, you have a new beginning. You are freed. You can live from the beginning. Start new. Your sins, inshallah, have all been forgiven. All your sins, everything. Inshallah, you have not done sin, but if you have done sins like me, you have been forgiven. You can start new, fresh. Start like a child is just born. So preserve that purity, that cleansiness of the heart, of the spirit, preserve it. You worked hard for it. Allah helped you. So keep it for the rest of the year, inshallah. Please give a salawat. We were talking about the family. We were talking about family values and akhlaq, because the month of Ramadan is not only about doing dua and seeking forgiveness, it's about the month of akhlaq. One of the best things in this month is to learn ethics, to learn behavior, how to treat people. And we said that shaitan is attacking us at the end of time. Shaitan will attack with all the force that he has. Whatever power he has, he's going to attack to make sure to try to delay the reappearance of the 12th Imam. And who is he going to attack first? And what establishment is more loved? No other establishment is loved in Allah's eyes more than the establishment of marriage and the family. So shaitan is attacking the families. He's attacking the kids, the wives, the husbands. And he has many different ways to attack, many different ways to misguide us. One of the ulama, Sheikh Murtaza Zahid, who lived in Tehran, was a very, very, very important scholar. He had such a pure heart that when he did nasihat, he gave advice, he would cause people to cry just because his soul had such an effect. Ayatollah Burujerdi, one of the great Maharaja, would invite him. He said, I heard that your speeches are good. Come to Qom and give me advice. He would read a hadith for Ayatollah Burujerdi, give him advice. Ayatollah Burujerdi would start crying. He had this effect. Sheikh Murtaza Zahid once was upset, was hurt. They saw him that he wasn't how he used to be. When he would cross the street, he wasn't paying attention. For 2 or 3 days, they're saying, what's wrong with Sheikh Murtaza Zahid? What happened to him? They asked him, said, are you okay? Is there something wrong? He said, yes, there's something wrong. Yes, there's something wrong. He said, what is it? He said that I learned this hadith. I learned this narration. See, Sheikh Murtaza Zahid believes in the narrations. This is what happens when you believe in the narrations. I read a narration that the Prophet told Imam Ali alayhi salam that Ya Ali, the same ways that you have to guide people, how many ways does Imam Ali can guide somebody? How many multiple ways can he attract them to Islam? He said, Shaitan also has the same amount of ways to misguide somebody. The same way that Imam Ali can, multiple ways Shaitan can misguide us. He was upset for 2 or 3 days. Why? Because we don't even know if we're deceived. This is how Shaitan works. We think we're on the right track. But if we don't analyze ourselves, we don't wake up, we can see actually we've drifted far from Allah. We might do a prayer that we think is very sincere, but it might be at the end, I'm showing off. It might be, for the people. So Shaitan has that effect. He can attack people. He is strong, and his experience gets increased as time goes by. So for us to block Shaitan out of our lives, the most important thing is to think of the next generation, to think of ourselves and our family. That's why we were talking about the family, how to save it from Satan. We talked last night. One of the first things to do for establishing a pure and strong family, which is, say, Shaitan-proof, Shaitan cannot come in, one is to do good yourselves. If you want your kids to do good, you should do good yourselves. If you are a teacher and you want to teach somebody, you do good and your student will follow. If you're a religious instructor and you don't do good yourselves, your students will take you as a joke, your kids will take you as a joke. Then second of all, we talked about that environment. We talked about having a good environment at home. And we talked about husband and wife having good, caring for each other, not fighting, right? As the narration says, مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِمْرَأَةً فَلْيُكْرِمْهَا. If somebody is going to take a wife, take a woman, if you're going to get married, honor her. Don't dishonor her. Now that you're married, you didn't have to, nobody forced you to get married. Now you decided to get married. Give respect to your wife, right? And for the woman, right, in a way that the woman should also respect her husband. And some of the narrations, it says one of the best things that is for a man is a good wife, one of the best gifts. A wife that has these qualities, إِذَا نَظَرَ إِلَيْهَا سَرَّتْهُ. When a husband looks at his wife, he becomes happy. He becomes happy when he becomes masroor, happy. Sometimes, unfortunately, there's fighting going on and they look at their wife and they want to hang themselves, right? They don't get really happy. And so it's opposite, not just women, but also women sometimes, they come home and they want to hang themselves. This is from Shaitan. This is from themselves. One of my friends wanted to get married, remarried. Unfortunately, he had a divorce. I said, what do you want? What condition is important for you for your wife? He said, I want a wife that is a painkiller. I want her to be a painkiller for me. When I come home, I'm relaxed. Not that I have painkillers before I come home, right? So unfortunately, these are things that it says, the narrations say that a wife and husband, sarrathu, when he looks at her, he should become happy. See how Imam Ali alayhi salam would look at Sayyida Fatima salamullah alayhi. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. وَإِذَا غَابَ عَنْهَا حَفِظَتْهُ. When he leaves, she protects his honor. She protects his money. right? She protects him, right? He can trust her with things. Not when he leaves, she spends everything that he had, right? Or same thing for, I'm not trying to say just for the woman, also for the man. وَإِذَا أَمَرَهَا طَاعَتْهُ. And when he tells her something, because the man is the leader of the household in the verses of Quran, even though we have narrations when, for example, Salama would ask the Prophet for something. For example, when the Prophet attacked, when the Prophet, he got Mecca back. And then one of the lists, there was maybe about 10 people that were on a list that people that were not allowed to be forgiven. One of those people was Abu Salama. So Abdullah was her brother. So anyways, Salama's brother, which was Abdullah, was one of the 10 or 12 people that were on a list of people to not be forgiven. But because Salama came to the Prophet, he respected her opinion. He respected her, said, this is my brother, forgive him. The Prophet accepted. So it goes two ways. It's not only that the woman should respect the man should respect the woman. Another thing that's important, please give a salawat. One of the things we said, that environment is an environment of respect. Not only respecting spouses, the kids' opinion. Because fathers should be friends with their kids. A friend does not always put their friend down, right? He listens to them, he respects them, he honors them, doesn't yell at him in front of everybody, right? Another thing that we can do to give a very good environment in our house, besides giving respect and honor, the other is forgiveness. People will say something, will do something because you're living in the same house for many hours. Say even this 3-day weekend, those that spent the time in the home, they were with their family for a very long period of time. It's very natural for fights to happen, right? You get agitated, right? See, with our friends, we see them when we want to, when we're ready, when we're charged, But when we're at home, we have no other choice, right? We're at home, we have spent so many hours. So sometimes the wife will say something to the husband will say something to the wife. It'll upset them. Forgiveness is one of the keys. Not only forgiveness. One of these Arabic prose writer named Jahith, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's very famous. He is a very famous Mu'tazili and prose writer. He says that Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he's not Shia, he's from our brothers of the Ahlul Sunnah. He says Imam Baqir has put it all together, how to live life, this prose writer. He says that life, he quotes Imam Baqir as a cup or as a container that is filled, 2/3 of it, mikyalin, thuluthahu fitna, fitna with a ta, not fitna with a ta, fitna. Fitna, he means to be clever. 2/3 of life and how we treat people is fitna, is about cleverness, paying attention, being aware, right? Paying attention. وَثُلْث تَغَافُلْ. Taghaful means to put yourself in a way that you don't see. You let it pass. You let it slip, right? As if I didn't see something. You put yourself in ghiflat. You put yourself as if you're not paying attention. 2/3 is paying attention and being careful and being clever, and 1/3 is not paying attention, overlooking it. It's okay, let it pass. She says something to you, let it pass. He says something to her, you let it pass, right? Taghaful. So one of these things that the Imam alayhi salam is telling us is to let things pass. You don't have to pay attention to every word that he or she says and write it down and record it. Let it pass. It's okay. Allah, if you want Allah to forgive you, you let things pass so He'll forgive you. So in a relationship, taghaful is something very important because something will be said and they didn't mean it. They're just upset. Emotions went up, went down, and they said something they didn't mean. So this forgiveness is something important. They came to one of the great Arabs, Nukhodaki. I don't know if you've heard him. He was in Mashhad. And they came, somebody asked advice. He said, give me some advice. And he said this to him. He said, don't bother people. Don't bother people and don't get bothered. He said, okay. The student said, this person said, not bothering people is easy. Just keep your mouth quiet, respect them. That's easy. How can I not get bothered? I get agitated. He asked him, he says, don't consider yourself as anything. Because when you're arrogant, you get upset. If you think yourself as somebody humble and low, you won't get upset when somebody says something to you. I'm not saying to not have self-confidence, or when you live in a society not to protect yourself, to protect your family, your honor, your religion, no. But when it comes to your brothers, when it comes to your wife, when it comes to your kids, right? Don't think you're anything. They said something to you, okay, good, alhamdulillah, right? If you think you're somebody very important, then the smallest little act of disrespect would get you upset. In some of our narrations, and we see it when we're raising kids, there's things, and this makes logical sense. And I found this hadith, it's very interesting. Sometimes we show too much love. A father, in this narration it talks about the father. Mothers or fathers will show too much love and they'll spoil a kid. They give them everything he or she wants when they're kids. Then when they grow up, that nafs, those desires, they can't control anymore. Whenever they go to a mall or anywhere, the kid cries, says, I want that, I want this candy, I want that toy, keep giving it to him. Then he starts growing up. Then whatever he gets or she gets, whatever happens, they'll start crying and being upset. They can't function right in society. So this is important, to love them, care for them, but don't overdo. Islam is a religion of balance. Let me read this narration for you. شر الآباء من دعاه بره إلى الإفراط. They do ifrat and excess when it comes to doing good for their kids. This is one of the worst fathers. Because a father and mother should be doing tarbiyat. They should be doing training and raising a kid. Right? Not just giving them whatever I feel sorry for them. No. Do it in a way that they're actually being raised and they work, and if they do something good, you'll give them a good prize or a good gift. Yes. There's no ifrat, there's no tafrit. There's no, ifrat means to be extreme. Tafrit means not to do enough, right? To hold back. So something in the middle, right? We'll mention narrations later about doing tafrit means here would probably mean to not give to the kid. Those are some of the worst. Those that have money, those that for fathers, they have money but they don't provide for their kids. They don't give them what they want. They don't provide. They are the worst people. So if tafrit here is not to spend when you should, ifrat here is to spend too much and spoil them. Because all these sins, all of it goes back to our nafs. When you raise a kid with a very strong nafs and desires, hawa nafs, he's going to be a bulldozer. Nobody's going to stop him. So at the beginning, when you train him to show that sometimes yes, sometimes no, he will learn and can control himself. And then when it comes later on, when he grows up to haram and halal, he can control himself. This is a haram drink. No, okay. This is, my obligation. Yes, I'll do it. But if he's always saying yes, then he can't control his hawa nafs. Another thing about the environment that we're providing, especially, and this applies maybe to everywhere in the world, is a spiritual environment. A home that you hear the Quran, you hear the du'as, you hear different things of ibadat, and it'll make that house full of light. In the narrations it says just how we see the stars. And we see stars, Ahlus Sama, and the people of the sky will look at earth and they'll see light too. Those are the homes of the mu'mineen. Those are homes that Quran has been read, du'as have been read. The narration says, وَيُضِيءُ لِأَهْلِ السَّمَاءِ كَمَا يُضِيءُ الْكَوَاكِبْ لِأَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. Just like these stars, the earth has stars. And those homes that the Quran is recited, those homes that the du'as are recited will have light, will have barakat, it says. Angels will come and shaitan will leave, because we're talking about shaitan. But what happens if somebody has a home that's always TV, public TV or cable TV is always on? There's always music. There's always movies. You can't even think. If you want to pray, there's always something on TV to watch, right? You hear it over and over. Compared to homes that even, some of the brothers and sisters, they might have satellite channels that they can see, Islamic channels, du'as, Quran, that their home can be full of angels. Compared to games and video movies, even though these things, if it's not haram, it's not if it's not a sin. But a home that doesn't have this, light won't, barakat won't be there. وَتَجْهُرُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَتَحْضُرُهُ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Shayateen will enter that house. So that environment that you want to raise in a kid, it should be peaceful, should be calm. It's even if it's calm, it's good for their studies, for them to study and think. If it's always loud and there's TV and different things that TV show, that kid is not going to be raised properly. You need to give him a proper environment for his spirit to be at ease, at peace, so that he can come to prayer, come to think about Allah, right? So that's about the spiritual environment. Another thing is for kids, especially when they're young, and we've seen this in a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, a house that respects the Ahlul Bayt and respects the martyrdoms of the Ahlul Bayt, respects the birthdays of the Ahlul Bayt. This will be a house of light. Parents that teach their kids to love Imam Hussein at a young age. They love Imam Ali at a young age. They hate Yazid and Shimr at a young age. They'll be more inclined when they grow up, they'll remember Imam Hussein, they'll cry. They'll remember Imam Ali, they'll cry. So give them wear black maybe on the days of the martyrdom. Maybe on the days that it's Eid. You give them gifts. You give them, sweets. This is the birthday of Imam Ali. And you talk about Imam Ali to him. So he gets used to that. He gets used to these Eids. Not only to the events that happen in this country, the days, the national holidays, our Islamic holidays. See, in Iran, for example, the birthday of Imam Ali is Father's Day, right? So a father and man is linked with Imam Ali. Women's Day is the birthday of Sayyid Fatima, salamullah alayha. So when a person thinks of a woman and who a woman should be like, they think of Sayyid Fatima. These are very important things for kids when they're growing up, compared to if you don't put these figures for them, they're going to choose other role models, right? So they can love to become, no other person in history is like our prophet. Nobody else is like Imam Ali. These are champions in history. History did not have people like them. So when you tell them these stories, their hero, Imam Ali becomes their hero, a brave hero, and Sayyida Fatima becomes a model of chastity, of haya, of shame, and of power, also of strength when it came to khutbah fadakiyah and knowledge. So these affect kids. So to share the love of the Ahlul Bayt with the children. Tell them stories of the Ahlul Bayt. Give them gifts with their birthdays. Tell them to wear black. Put on a little bit of, lutmiya or, rose a little bit. And they like it, the kids. They really love, Sina Zani and lutmiya. Right? Get them into that. So this is about the environment. And this is about making an environment for a house that when the angels look, they'll see nur. They won't see darkness. Some of the narrations talk about conditions, the living conditions, not to provide amply for his family. A person that provides a lot for their family, it says, they will be near to God. Ardaakum Allah. Allah will be radi, will be satisfied with somebody that provides for their family, compared to a family that even though their dad has money, they never had anything. Their friends, they look at their friends, and they're like, the friends are living this lifestyle, and they're always below standard, right? And this is a duty, if parents, of course, can afford it. Is if you have money, you spend it for the kids. There was this person that was very stingy, because in some of our narrations, it says ليس منا من وسع عليه ثم قتر عليه إعالاه. A person that Allah gives him, he is generous, but he is stingy when it comes to his family. He's not of us. He's not from this ummah. They said that there's this father who's very cheap. And when it came to breakfast, they would have bread and cheese only. But the cheese, he didn't want it to be ruined, so he put it in the glass. You put on the glass inside a cover for the cheese. So when the kids would come to have breakfast, he said, just rub it on the glass. Your bread, rub it on the glass, and then eat your bread. Then they say that one day the dad didn't bring the cheese. And then the kid's like, Dad, we didn't have the cheese in the glass today. They said, can't you just have simple bread one day? Can't you just have normal bread? Right? So being stingy, this is very dangerous. Remember how we said don't have friends that are stingy? And we said if you're going to have a friend, be more generous than him. The narrations say if he's going to be generous, you should be more generous. You should make up to him. So this is another fault that we have, and that kid will end up hating their dad or parents when they grow up. They say, I never had anything, right? They say, I never had, if he could afford it. If they can't, that's something else. Allah will somehow help that child. It will help them. If they can't afford it, then Allah will give them ajr of something else. Very great. Those in the narrations, it says that are in poverty. In one of our books of akhlaq, it compares, Mullah Naraghi compares a rich person that gives. He says, which one's better? A rich person that gives to the poor, is he higher? Or a poor person that has iffat and shame and doesn't talk about their poverty? Which one's higher? Mullah Naraghi brings narrations that say, it says a poor person that has sabr, that endures his poverty, is higher than a rich person that spends a lot for people. And he says the narrations are one of the first people that will enter heaven are the poor people. Poor people enter heaven first. Or in some of the narrations, some of the prophets that had a very, like Prophet Dawood, that had a lot of wealth, they will enter from the Anbiya and the prophets later to heaven. So being poor, you don't ask for it, but this is your test in life because everybody has a different test. Allah gives somebody money to test them. Allah gives somebody normal wealth, somebody in poverty to test them. Right? These things that we own, we can imagine it as like a exam sheet. All our things that we own, our money, our wealth, our cars, is like an exam, a piece of paper. That piece of paper, when I make an exam, do I get attached to it? Do I say, oh, look at me, I have this piece of paper? No. This is just like an exam. Somebody has a nice car, somebody has a bad car, somebody, right? But those that have, what I mentioned, those that are poor and don't have, and have patience, and they have iffat, and they have shame, they, and according to Mullah Naraghi, is even higher than a very rich person that spends for people. Another thing that is important, we talked about love in the family, forgiveness, respect. We talked about giving them a good quality of life. Another thing that is important, and I'll inshallah wrap it up with this, is helping each other. Some men, unfortunately, in the Muslim community think it's haram to help at the house. Think this is the wife's duty. No, there's no narration that it's haram to help out in the house. Actually, in the narrations, it says, Isma' minni ya Abul Hasan, the Prophet tells Imam Ali, وَمَا أَقُولُ إِلَّا مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. What I tell you is from the command of my Lord. مَا مِنْ رَجُلٍ يُعِينُ إِمْرَأَتَهُ فِي بَيْتِهَا إِلَّا كَانَ لَهُ بِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ عَلَى بَدَنِهِ عِبَادَةُ السَّنَةِ صِيَامُ نَهَارِهَا وَقِيَامُ لَيَالِهَا. How many hairs does somebody have in their body? Countless, right? If somebody helps his wife in the house, this is how balanced Islam is. It's not just about the Quran and worshiping and reading the Quran. It's about helping your wife at home with how much hair you have. Each one hair will be equal to 1 year of fasting and worship. Each one hair. Just helping your wife at home. And then it says later on that they'll be given the sabr, the patience. They'll be a'ata as-sabirin wa Dawood wa Yaqub wa Isa alayhim salam. They'll be given the patience of Isa, Yaqub, and Dawood. Somebody that helps in the house. The same for the woman. maybe no other act can be as good as helping in the house. If they knew how great helping in the house is, sometimes they wouldn't leave the house to do worship. They would stay in the house just to help their kids, help their husband. As it says, this is equal to the defense and jihad of a woman, is if they are at the house and they help the husband. So helping each other. There's two things, brothers and sisters, I'd like to wrap this up, that can really guide us in general. Two things that are the greatest of actions are these two things. One is the love of the Ahlul Bayt, those actions that are for the Ahlul Bayt, for Imam Hussein, for Imam Ali, for Sayyid Fatima, salamun alayhi. Second is helping people. Helping especially those close to you, your parents. This is the month of Ramadan. You want to say, Allah, forgive me? You should also be kind to your family, be kind to your kids. If you have parents that need help, financial help, you help them. Imagine a person, if he does dua all the time, those long du'as, at the end, their mom needed help, their dad needed help, they needed finance, they needed money, but they didn't help them. Do you think Allah will have mercy on them? So one of the best things to do is for the Ahlul Bayt and also to help people, especially parents, children, wives, those around us, our friends. So inshallah, this is a little review about how to provide and save ourselves from shaitan, which was one was being good ourselves so that we can learn, so our children can learn once we reach a good level of spirituality. Two, providing the appropriate environment. Three, we didn't get to, I'll just mention to you, commanding the good and forbidding the evil. Not to be fooled by what in society they say, leave your kids alone, let them decide. No. Islam amr ma'roof, for commanding the good and forbidding the evil is wajib, especially on kids, in an appropriate way that it should happen. If you ever see your child doing something they shouldn't, you should tell them. You have to tell them. So commanding the good and forbidding the evil. And fourth, the key of all of this is being a friend with your kids, being kind to them and being a rafiq, being close. If you're close with your kids, they're going to talk to you first, right? If you're close to your kids, they'll respect you not only as your dad, they'll want to hang out with you, they'll spend time with you, you have more influence over them. That tight connection with kids, right? When you, for example, if you have to spend time hanging out or have fun, you have it with your kids, not only with your friends, right? Not to separate. One of the things that I notice when you get invited somewhere here, they have in homes, you have the parents have one section and the kids one section. No, let them all hang out together so they can learn from the elders, learn from their wisdom. They can hang out, have fun with their parents. If you want to have very good kids, you have to be friends with them, spend time. I remember reading an interview about a very influential teacher in Iran who taught kids. He was an instructor, a religious instructor. One of the best things that he mentioned was, for my students, I become close with them. I break open, I break the ice. I become very close with them. Once you become close with them, they'll start listening to you, right? If you're not close with them and you just tell them from far, they're not going to listen to you. So the key to all of this is being friends with your wife's being friends with their husbands, and being friends with kids, a very tight connection. If this connection is tight, shaitan will not be allowed, inshallah. So that shaitan can be far from our families, please give a salawat. We can dim the lights a little bit. We're going to go to Karbala, take our hearts to Karbala. As I said, no deed will change us as much as Sayyid al-Shuhada, the Ahlul Bayt. They will change you. Whatever you want, this is the last night of Ramadan. Whatever you want, ask it from Hussein, Imam Hussein. Whatever you want, dunya, you want akhirat, you want spirituality, you want a good wife, you want good kids. Those that can have kids, those that have bad kids, whoever has du'as, come humbly to the doors of Sayyid al-Shuhada and you'll see Allah's mercy. This is the key to Allah's mercy. One of the ziyarats that we read is ziyarat Nahiya Muqaddasa. This is a ziyarat that is in different books, and it is an old ziyarat. But the difference with this ziyarat is that it's related to the person that reads the ziyarat according to what they say is the 12th Imam. This is the ziyarat that the 12th Imam gives to Imam Hussein. Imam Mahdi read for his, in the occultation to Imam Mahdi. Imam Mahdi himself says, there's a narration that I wasn't there to help you basically. I wasn't there to help you. But I will lament in the morning and in the evening. I'll cry for you, Hussein, Imam Zaman says in this narration. Day and night I will cry for you, Hussein. I will weep blood in place of tears. I will cry so much that it happens. You injure your eyelids. You injure your eyelids and blood comes. Out of my anguish for you and my sorrow for all that befell you. This is a narration from Imam Mahdi. So in this ziyarat, Imam Mahdi, and one of the differences between ziyarat Nahiya is that it has the details of what happened to Imam Hussein. If you want to see, if your heart can bear what happened to Imam Hussein, read ziyarat Nahiya. Some of it, when you go to Karbala, inshallah, you'll see on the shrine of Imam Hussein, they have put parts of this ziyarat around the shrine. I'll read to you some parts of this ziyarat. قد عجبت من صبرك ملائكة السماوات. The angels of the heavens were astonished by your patience, Hussein. Imam Zaman, this ziyarat is saying in Ziyarat Nahiya, the angels were astonished and amazed at how much patience you had, Hussein. You shocked the angels. What did you do? You shocked the angels. فَاحْدَقُوا بِكَ مِنْ كُلِّ الْجِهَاتِ. And they surrounded you from all sides. Enemies. How many? 30,000 enemies. How many were the numbers of Imam Hussein? 72, right? 100. وَثْخَنُوكَ بِالْجِرَاحِ. And weaken you by inflicting wounds. They slowly and slowly, they weakened Imam Hussein. They kept hitting stones, arrows. They kept weakening Imam Hussein. وَلَمْ يَبْقَى لَكَ نَاصِرٍ. And you had no helper left. Imam Hussein is, imagine he is alone. All his companions are now killed. It's just him and thousands and thousands of people. تَذُبُّ عَنْ نِسْوَتِكَ وَأَوْلَادِكَ. You were defending your women and children. Nobody was left, just your tents. Just your tents that had your women and children inside. You were alone. This is the part, brothers and sisters, I said if somebody does the a'mal of Ayatollah Wahid Khurasani, that they'll have a mukashafa, but they won't, after this part, they can't see what happened. Hatta nakasuk an jawadik. Until they cause you to fall from your horse. From the part that Imam Hussein alayhi salam fell from his horse, there it's very, very difficult for somebody to see truly and to bear. A pure heart cannot bear it. Only the heart of the 12th Imam can bear it. فَحَوَيْتَ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ جَرِيحًا. You fell to the ground wounded. تَتَأُكَ الْخُيُولَ بِحَوَافِرِهَا. And they trampled your holy body, Hussein, with the hooves of horses. They trampled your body. Sayyid ibn Tawus says that after they killed Imam Hussein, Umar ibn Sa'd comes and tells his companions, he comes and tells them this. He says to them, Man yantadibu lil Hussein alayhi salam fayuti al-khayla dhahra. Who's ready to ride the horses over the body of Imam Hussein? Imam Hussein has been martyred, but that wasn't enough for them. They killed the son of Imam Ali, the grandson of the Prophet, but that wasn't enough for them. They took his clothes. They took whatever he had. They took his wife and children. They took him as Osara, but that wasn't enough. They wanted to take the horses and ride over the holy body of Imam Hussein. 10 people came. 10 people said, I will do it. They wanted money. They did it for the dunya. They said, I will ride over the body of this grandson of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One of those mal'ooneen was Ishaq ibn Hawba, the same person that stole and ripped the shirt of Imam Hussein from his body after he was martyred. The same beggar the same damned thief that took the shirt of Imam Hussein from him. And in Luhuf it says, فَدَاسُوا الْحُسَيْنَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ بِحَوَافِرِ خَيْلِهِمْ. And they came and they crushed these 10 people with their horses. They rode over the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in such a way that حَتَّى رَضُّوا ظَهَرَهُ وَصَدْرَهُ. They crushed his back and they crushed his body. They crushed his chest. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بغيت وبغي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Us everybody together. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn. We ask you, Ya Allah, for the honor of Imam Hussein, accept our majalis, inshallah. Those that have provided food in this month of Ramadan, especially tonight, may Allah forgive their sins and forgive their families' sins, inshallah. Give us a strong and friendly family that has an environment full of spirituality, full of knowledge, and that we respect one another, inshallah. Those that aren't married, give them appropriate spouses so they can establish a pure and genuine family, inshallah. Our children, our kids, guide them towards the right path. Guide them towards the way of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Make us see our Imam, the 12th Imam, inshallah. Make us companions of the 12th Imam. May you, inshallah, hurry and reappear the 12th Imam and remove him from occultation. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala bayti at-tayyibin at-tahirin.